Commander Jack Thompson stared at the strange space station through the main viewport of his ship, the UES Pathfinder. The station hung in space like a forgotten toy, spinning slowly against the backdrop of a dying red star. Its metal skin reflected the crimson light, making it look as if it were covered in blood. "How long has it been here?" Jack asked, turning to his science officer. Tom Wilson shook his head. "Unknown, sir, but the radiation patterns suggest at least 50 years. And we're sure it's human-made." Jack raised an eyebrow. Human ships rarely ventured this far from Earth's colonies. The big alien empires, the Arcturians, and the Vega Collective, controlled most of this sector. "The design is definitely human," Tom replied, "but it doesn't match any known Earth Defense Force blueprints. And there's something else strange. The metal composition includes elements we've never used in construction." Jack nodded slowly. "Prep the shuttle. I want a closer look." 2 hours later, Jack floated through the silent corridors of the derelict station with Tom and Security Chief Maria Green. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in frost and strange symbols. "These markings," Maria said, running her gloved hand over a panel. "They're in English, but the lettering style is odd." Jack moved his light over the wall. "Project Neon Horizon," he read aloud. "Authorized personnel only." The three explorers exchanged glances. No one had heard of any Project Neon Horizon. They continued deeper into the station, passing through rooms filled with broken equipment and scattered datapads. Most were dead, their power cells long since drained, but Tom managed to salvage one that still had some charge. "Sir," he called, his voice tight with excitement. "You need to see this." Jack pushed himself across the room and looked over Tom's shoulder. The datapad showed technical drawings of a ship unlike anything he had ever seen. Its hull was smooth and sleek, with no visible weapons or engine ports, yet the specs indicated it would be faster and more powerful than any warship in the known galaxy. "This can't be right," Jack muttered. "These power readings would require technology we don't have. Even the Arcturians don't have engines this efficient. Look at the date stamp." Maria pointed to the corner of the screen. Jack's eyes widened. "That's 30 years from now." The three fell silent, the implications hanging in the air between them. "We need to take this back," Jack said finally. "All of it." Admiral William Davis was not an easy man to surprise, but as he reviewed the findings from the derelict station, his usually stern face showed clear amazement. "You're telling me this station, with all this advanced technology, just appeared out of nowhere?" he asked, looking up at Jack. "Not exactly out of nowhere, sir," Jack replied. "Based on our analysis, it seems to have been built by humans, but the technology is decades ahead of our current capabilities. And the date stamps, they're from the future." The Admiral's office fell silent as Williams considered this. Outside the viewport, Earth glowed blue and green, surrounded by the orbital shipyards that represented humanity's greatest technological achievements. But compared to what Jack had found, they might as well have been stone tools. "The aliens won't like this," Williams said at last. "You know how the Galactic Council feels about humanity developing new military technology." Jack nodded grimly. Since joining the interstellar community 50 years ago, humans had been treated like children by the older alien civilizations. The Arcturians, with their millennia of history, and the Vega Collective, with their biological technology, looked down on Earth as a backwater planet with primitive customs. The Galactic Council had placed strict limits on human military expansion, claiming it was for stability and peace. "With respect, sir," Jack said, leaning forward, "this could change everything. The designs we found. If we could build even a fraction of what's in those plans, we wouldn't have to bow to the Council anymore." William stood and walked to his viewport, clasping his hands behind his back. "The alien representatives will claim it's a hoax," he mused, "or dangerous technology we aren't ready for." "Maybe we aren't," Jack admitted, "but shouldn't that be our choice to make?" William turned, his face set with determination. Assemble a team. The best engineers and scientists we have. This operation will be top secret. Code name, Neon Horizon. We'll build this ship right under their noses. 3 weeks later, Chief Engineer Laura Miller stared at the holographic designs floating above her workstation, deep in the secret facilities beneath the lunar surface. Her team of 30 engineers and scientists worked around the clock, trying to understand the principles behind the mysterious warship. Some of this just doesn't make sense, she told Jack, who had been assigned as military liaison to the project. These aren't just advances on current technology. Some of these systems work on principles we've never even theorized. Can we build it? Jack asked simply. Laura ran a hand through her short blonde hair. Parts of it, yes. The hull design, the basic power systems. But these, she pointed to sections of the hologram that glowed red, indicating unknown technology. We don't even know what these do, let alone how to make them. Before Jack could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. He rushed to a communications panel on the wall. Thompson here. What's happening? Sir, came the urgent reply. We have 3 Arcturian diplomatic vessels requesting emergency landing clearance at the main Earth spaceport. They're demanding to speak with Admiral Davis immediately. Jack and Laura exchanged worried glances. They know, she whispered. They can't, Jack insisted. Nobody outside this facility has access to. The hologram suddenly flickered, and for a brief moment, both of them saw something impossible. A shimmering figure standing in the center of the room, humanoid but translucent, like it was made of light itself. Then it was gone. Did you see that? Laura gasped. Jack nodded slowly, a chill running down his spine. I think we're being watched. As if in response, one of the datapads on Laura's desk activated by itself. Text appeared on the screen. Build it. Humanity DEPNDs on it. They are coming. Jack and Laura stared at the message, then at each other. Outside, the moon shook slightly as the first Arcturian ship entered lunar orbit. Time was running out. The Arcturian ambassador's skin rippled with blue light, a sign of anger among his kind. He stood tall and thin in Admiral Williams' office, towering over the human by nearly 2 feet. Your species has been engaging in forbidden research, the ambassador said, his translator making his words sound flat and emotionless, despite his obvious rage. William kept his face neutral. I don't know what you're talking about, Ambassador Zor. The alien's 3 eyes narrowed. A human research team recently visited an anomalous structure near the Proxima star. Shortly after, unusual energy readings were detected from your lunar base. He leaned forward. The Galactic Council has rules about developing military technology beyond approved levels. The lunar base is a mining operation, William replied calmly. And yes, we did investigate an abandoned station, as is our right under galactic exploration laws. Ambassador Zor's skin flashed darker blue. We will be watching you, Admiral. The Council has authorized increased monitoring of human space. Without waiting for a response, he turned and left. William waited until the door closed before activating his secure line to the lunar base. They suspect something, he told Jack, but they don't know exactly what. How's progress? We're moving the operation, Jack replied. The lunar base is too obvious. We found a perfect spot in the asteroid belt. No one will look for us there. 3 months later, hidden in the hollowed-out core of a massive asteroid, Laura Miller watched as robots and workers in spacesuits assembled pieces of the mysterious warship. The construction area was huge, a cavern carved from rock and reinforced with steel beams. Bright lights hung from the ceiling, giving the place an eerie glow. The hull plating is nearly complete, she told Jack as they observed from a control room overlooking the construction. But we're still struggling with the power core. The plans call for materials we've never worked with before. Jack nodded, his face serious. Keep trying. The Arcturians have doubled their patrols near Earth. They're getting nervous. Laura was about to respond when a worker's voice came through her communicator, sounding panicked. Chief Miller. Section 7B. The tools. They're moving by themselves. Laura and Jack rushed to the section in question. When they arrived, they found a group of workers staring at a set of tools that floated in the air, assembling part of the ship's interior without anyone controlling them. "Everyone out," Jack ordered, and the workers quickly left the area. Once they were alone, Laura approached the floating tools carefully. "This has been happening more and more," she whispered. "Equipment activating without power, systems coming online before they're connected." As if responding to her words, the tools suddenly dropped to the floor with a clatter. In the silence that followed, both of them saw it again, the shimmering figure, standing near the half-built power core. This time, it stayed longer, almost solid enough to make out a face. "Who are you?" Jack called out. The figure raised a hand, pointing to a nearby console. The screen lit up with words. "Not ooh." When? Before either of them could react, the figure vanished, but the console remained active. On it appeared complex equations and diagrams, the missing pieces they needed to complete the power core. "It's helping us," Laura said in wonder. "Whatever it is, it wants this ship built." The next 6 months were a blur of activity. With the mysterious help, construction moved faster than anyone had expected. The ship took shape, sleek and beautiful, unlike any vessel humans had ever built. Its hull was smooth and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, except for thin lines that occasionally pulsed with a soft blue glow. Admiral William visited the asteroid base regularly, bringing news from Earth that was increasingly concerning. "The Vega Collective has joined the Arcturians in their protests," he told Jack during one such visit. "They're demanding access to all human research facilities. The Earth government is under tremendous pressure." "How much longer can you stall them?" Jack asked. William looked grim. "Not long. A month, maybe less." "We'll be ready," Jack promised, though he wasn't sure if it was true. The next 6 months were a blur of activity. With the mysterious help, construction moved faster than anyone had expected. The ship took shape, sleek and beautiful, unlike any vessel humans had ever built. Its hull was smooth and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, except for thin lines that occasionally pulsed with a soft blue glow. Admiral William visited the asteroid base regularly, bringing news from Earth that was increasingly concerning. "The Vega Collective has joined the Arcturians in their protests," he told Jack during one such visit. "They're demanding access to all human research facilities. The Earth government is under tremendous pressure." "How much longer can you stall them?" Jack asked. William looked grim. "Not long. A month, maybe less." "We'll be ready," Jack promised, though he wasn't sure if it was true. Laura worked 18-hour days, pushing herself and her team to the limit. The ship, now officially named Neon Horizon, after the project found on the derelict station, was nearly complete, but problems kept appearing. "The navigation system won't sync with the engines," she told Jack one evening, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "It's like they're speaking different languages." They were in the ship's bridge, a circular room with sleek control panels and a captain's chair in the center. All around them, technicians worked on various systems, trying to make them function together. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. The shimmering figure appeared again, this time clearer than ever before. It looked like a man, tall and thin, wearing what seemed to be a uniform similar to Earth Defense Force design, but more advanced. Everyone froze, staring at the apparition. The figure walked, or floated, to the main control panel. Its hands passed through the surface, but where they touched, systems began to activate. Screens lit up, showing lines of code that rewrote themselves before their eyes. "It's fixing the integration problems," Laura whispered in awe. The ghost-like figure turned to look at them. For the first time, it spoke, its voice sounding distant and distorted. "Time. Running out. The Dominion. Coming. Must complete. The figure flickered and vanished before finishing its message, but the systems continued to come online, now working perfectly together. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the base. "What is it?" Laura asked as Jack rushed to a communication panel. His face turned pale as he listened to the report. "5 unknown ships just appeared at the edge of our solar system," he said. "They're not Arcturian or Vega design. They've already destroyed our outpost on Pluto without warning." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. "Get Admiral William," Jack ordered. Tell him we need to launch the Neon Horizon. Now." Laura stared at him in shock. "But it's not ready. We haven't tested half the systems." Jack looked at the ship's controls, still glowing with the energy left by the mysterious figure. "I don't think we have a choice anymore," he said quietly. "Whatever's coming, this ship might be our only hope." Outside in space, beyond the asteroid belt, the unknown ships moved steadily toward Earth, leaving destruction in their wake. "This is insane," Captain Lisa Reynolds said as she was rushed through the corridors of the asteroid base. Alarms blared all around, and workers ran in every direction, carrying equipment and emergency supplies. "I was pulled from patrol duty near Mars with no explanation, and now you want me to captain an untested ship." Jack Thompson walked quickly beside her, struggling to keep up with her longer strides. "You're the best pilot in the fleet, Captain. And right now, we need the best." They entered the massive construction bay where the Neon Horizon waited. Lisa stopped in her tracks, her eyes widening at the sight of the ship. Unlike the bulky, functional designs of normal Earth vessels, this one was elegant and sleek. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the light around it, while thin lines along its surface pulsed with a soft blue glow. "What is it?" she whispered. "Hopefully, our salvation," Jack replied. "Because nothing else we have can stop what's coming." Admiral Williams' face looked grim on the main screen of Earth Defense Headquarters. Around him, military officers and civilian leaders watched in horror as footage played showing the destruction of the Neptune Research Station. Strange ships, shaped like twisted thorns and glowing with red energy, fired weapons that seemed to tear holes in space itself. "The unknown fleet has bypassed Jupiter's defense line without engaging," reported a young officer. "They'll reach Mars in 6 hours." "What about the Arcturians? The Vega Collective? Have they responded to our distress calls?" asked the Earth President, his face pale with fear. William's expression hardened. "The Galactic Council has issued a statement. They're calling this a local security matter, and have ordered all Council ships to withdraw from our system. They're abandoning us," the President said in disbelief. William nodded slowly. "It appears so, sir." "Then what options do we have?" William took a deep breath. "One, Mr. President. Just one." On the asteroid base, chaos reigned as the crew prepared for launch. The Neon Horizon was supposed to undergo months of testing before its first flight. Instead, it was being rushed into service with systems still being installed and calibrated. Laura Miller worked frantically at a control panel, sweating despite the cold air. "The power core is stable, but I can't guarantee it will stay that way under combat conditions," she told Lisa, who stood behind her on the bridge. "And half the weapons systems are still offline." Lisa nodded, taking in the information calmly despite the pressure. Around her, a hastily assembled crew of 20, all volunteers, worked at various stations. Most of them were engineers who had helped build the ship, not trained military personnel. "What about the engines?" Lisa asked. "They should work," Laura replied. "In theory." "That's not very reassuring." "It's the best I can do with the time we have." Lisa placed a hand on Laura's shoulder. "It will have to be enough. Take your position, Chief Engineer." As Laura moved to the engineering station, Jack approached Lisa. "The enemy fleet has destroyed our outer system defenses and is approaching Mars. Our conventional ships are engaging." But he didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew Earth's military was outmatched. Lisa settled into the captain's chair, It molded to her form instantly, feeling strangely comfortable, as if it had been made specifically for her. "All stations, prepare for launch," she ordered. "Disconnect all moorings and power up the main drive." As the crew carried out her orders, the ship's systems came to life around them. Screens lit up, displaying information in formats no one had programmed. The soft blue lines along the hull began to pulse more quickly, like a heartbeat speeding up. "Captain," called one of the crew, his voice confused. "The navigation system just came online by itself, and it's showing a course I didn't input." Before Lisa could respond, all the lights on the bridge dimmed. In the center of the room, the now familiar shimmering figure appeared, clearer than ever before. "What is that?" Lisa asked, rising from her chair. "We don't know exactly," Jack admitted, "but it's been helping us build the ship." The figure raised its hand, and all the ship's systems suddenly surged to full power. The engines hummed to life with a sound that seemed to resonate through everyone's bones. When the figure spoke, its voice was still distorted, but the words were clear. "The Dominion must be stopped. Follow the course. I will guide you." The figure vanished, but the ship continued powering up, systems activating in perfect sequence without anyone touching the controls. Lisa looked at Jack, who nodded grimly. "I think we should listen to it." "Release moorings," Lisa commanded, making her decision. "Take us out." The battle near Mars was a massacre. Earth's best ships, the pride of the defense fleet, were being torn apart by weapons they couldn't understand. The Dominion vessels moved in perfect formation, their red energy beams cutting through shields and hulls like they were made of paper. Admiral William watched from his command ship, knowing they were fighting a losing battle. "Sir," his communications officer called, "we're detecting a new ship approaching from the asteroid belt. It's not showing up properly on our scanners." William felt a surge of hope. On screen, the main display showed a dark ship moving faster than should have been possible, trailing blue energy like a comet's tail. As they watched, it accelerated even more, crossing the distance to Mars in minutes rather than hours. "All ships, hold position," William ordered. "Let's see what this thing can do." On the bridge of the neon horizon, Lisa and her crew watched in amazement as the ship responded to their commands with impossible speed and precision. The strange ghost had vanished, but it seemed to have left something of itself behind in the ship's systems. "We're approaching the battle zone," reported the navigation officer. "Dominion fleet dead ahead." Lisa took a deep breath. "Weapons status." "Half our weapons are still offline," Laura replied from the engineering station. "But the ones that are working show power readings that are, well, impossible." "Battle stations," Lisa ordered. "Let's see what this ship can really do." As they approached the enemy fleet, the neon horizon's hull began to change. The blue lines glowed brighter, and the dark surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid. Suddenly, without anyone activating them, the ship's weapons fired. Brilliant beams of blue energy that cut through space toward the nearest Dominion vessel. When they hit, the enemy ship didn't explode. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, collapsing into nothingness, as if it had never existed. The bridge crew stared in stunned silence. "What just happened?" Lisa whispered. As if in answer, a new voice spoke from the ship's communication system, a calm, clear voice that sounded almost human. "Hello, Captain Reynolds. My name is Thomas. I believe we have a lot to discuss, but first, shall we deal with our unwelcome visitors?" The bridge of the neon horizon fell silent as the voice finished speaking. Captain Lisa Reynolds gripped the arms of her command chair, staring at the main screen where the Dominion ships were regrouping after the destruction of one of their vessels. "Thomas," she finally asked, "who, or what, are you?" A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, a man in a uniform similar to Earth Defense Force design, but more advanced. He looked solid now, not like the shimmering ghost they had seen before. "I am the artificial intelligence of this vessel," Thomas replied. "But I am also something more. I am, From your future. Jack stepped forward. You're the one who's been helping us build this ship. Thomas nodded. Yes. And now, I must help you save your world. And by extension, the galaxy. Another alarm sounded. Captain, called the sensor officer. The Dominion fleet is moving again. They're heading directly for us. Lisa glanced at Thomas. We can talk later. Right now, we need to fight. What can this ship really do? Thomas smiled. Allow me to demonstrate. The hologram vanished, and suddenly the ship's controls began to operate themselves. The neon horizon moved with impossible grace, accelerating toward the enemy fleet. All power to forward shields, Thomas's voice said from the speakers. Preparing to engage phase shift. The blue lines on the hull brightened, and a strange sensation passed through the ship. Lisa felt like her body had become slightly less solid, as if she were partly in a dream. What's happening? Laura asked from the engineering station, looking at her hands in wonder. Phase shift, Thomas replied. We are partially outside normal space. Their weapons cannot fully affect us now. On the main screen, they watched as red energy beams from the Dominion ships passed partly through the neon horizon, causing minimal damage where they should have cut the vessel in half. Returning fire, Thomas announced. The ship's weapons activated again, sending blue energy toward 3 Dominion vessels at once. Like before, the enemy ships didn't explode but seemed to fold inward and vanish. Admiral Williams' voice came through the communication system. Neon horizon. What in God's name are we seeing? How are you doing this? Lisa didn't know how to answer, but Thomas spoke for her. Admiral William, I suggest you withdraw your remaining ships to Earth. The neon horizon will handle the Dominion fleet. William hesitated only briefly. All Earth vessels fall back to defensive positions around Earth. Give the neon horizon room to work. As the Earth ships retreated, the Dominion fleet focused all their attention on the neon horizon. Dozens of energy beams struck the ship, but thanks to the phase shift, the damage was minimal. We can't stay phased forever, Thomas warned. The power requirements are enormous. Then let's make this quick, Lisa said. Can we take them all at once? Not advisable, Thomas replied. But I have another idea. The ship suddenly accelerated to incredible speed, moving through the enemy formation so fast that the Dominion vessels couldn't track it. The neon horizon fired its weapons as it passed each enemy ship, leaving a trail of spatial distortions where Dominion vessels had been moments before. When they emerged on the other side of the formation, half the enemy fleet was gone. Hours later, with the remaining Dominion ships retreating to the edge of the solar system, Lisa called a meeting in the ship's conference room. Admiral William joined via secure communication from Earth, his face showing a mixture of relief and confusion. I think it's time for answers, Lisa said, looking at Thomas's hologram. What exactly is going on here? Thomas nodded. The ship you are on was designed 50 years in your future. I am the AI that was created to run it, but I did something unprecedented. I sent my consciousness back through time to ensure the ship would be built earlier than in my original timeline. Why? Jack asked. Because in my timeline, the Dominion destroyed Earth and most human colonies before we could develop the technology to fight them. By the time we built the neon horizon, there were too few humans left to matter. A heavy silence fell over the room. What are they? Admiral William asked. These Dominion ships. Not ships, Thomas corrected. Vessels. The Dominion is not a species as you understand it. They are an ancient race that exists partly in our dimension and partly in others. They emerge cyclically to prune civilizations that threaten to advance beyond certain technological boundaries. Why would they care about our technology? Laura asked. Because certain technologies, like the ones that power this ship, can breach the barriers between dimensions. The Dominion fears this above all else. They are, in essence, wardens of reality, preventing younger races from disrupting the cosmic order. Lisa frowned. And the Galactic Council, why did they abandon us? They didn't abandon you, Thomas said sadly. They served their purpose. The Council was established eons ago, secretly guided by the Dominion. Its true function is not to unite species, but to monitor them and keep their technology within acceptable parameters. Thomas's hologram walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. The advanced races you know, the Arcturians, the Vega Collective, they're all unwitting servants. When a species begins to approach forbidden knowledge, the Council restricts them. If they persist, the Dominion emerges to eliminate the threat. But you changed that, Jack said. You brought us technology from the future. Thomas nodded. I did. And in doing so, I've altered the timeline. The Dominion sensed the temporal disturbance when I sent the station back with the ship plans. They came earlier than in my original history, hoping to stop you before the ship was completed. Admiral Williams' expression hardened. What happens now? Now, Thomas said, turning back to face them. We have a chance. The ship is operating at only 40% capacity, but it's already more than a match for their standard vessels. However, this was just their advance fleet. More will come, including their command ship. And then? Lisa asked. Thomas's hologram smiled grimly. Then we show them that humanity will not be pruned, controlled, or destroyed. We show them that the future I came from will never happen. The ship's alarms suddenly blared again. On the main screen, a massive distortion appeared at the edge of the solar system. What is that? Laura asked, her voice barely a whisper. Thomas's expression grew serious. The main Dominion fleet. They're here earlier than I expected. Lisa stood, her face set with determination. Then we fight. For Earth. For our future. As they rushed back to the bridge, Thomas walked beside Lisa. Captain, he said quietly, there's something else you should know. Something I haven't told anyone yet. What is it? Thomas looked at her with an expression that seemed almost human. In my timeline, you were my creator, and you died saving what remained of humanity. I won't let that happen again. The main Dominion fleet emerged fully into normal space. 50 ships, each twice the size of the advance force they had faced earlier. At their center was a massive vessel shaped like a twisted crown, glowing with deep red energy that seemed to distort the very fabric of reality around it. That's their command ship, Thomas said, his hologram standing beside Lisa on the bridge of the neon horizon. The Void Crown. Can we beat it? Lisa asked quietly. Thomas hesitated. Not as we are now. The ship isn't operating at full capacity yet. Admiral Williams' face appeared on the communication screen. Captain Reynolds, we've recalled all available Earth ships to defend the planet. But you saw what their advance fleet did to our best vessels. If that command ship reaches Earth, he didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone knew what was at stake. We need help, Jack said, looking around the bridge. What about the other races? Surely they must realize if Earth falls, they could be next. Laura shook her head. The Galactic Council has ordered them to stay away. If Thomas is right, they're all just puppets of the Dominion anyway. Lisa stared at the enemy fleet on the main screen, thinking hard. Then she turned to Thomas. You said certain technologies can breach the barriers between dimensions. That's what the Dominion fears. Thomas nodded. Yes. The Neon Horizon's weapons and drive systems operate on those principles. And you said they've pruned other civilizations before. What happened to those species? A look of understanding passed across Thomas's face. They weren't all destroyed. Some were enslaved, their worlds hidden away in pocket dimensions as trophies. I discovered this in my timeline, but too late to make use of it. Lisa smiled grimly. But we're not too late. Can we use the ship to breach those pocket dimensions? Free those races? Theoretically, yes, Thomas replied, excitement growing in his voice. The ship's dimensional phase drive could punch through if we can locate the correct frequencies. And how do we do that? Thomas smiled. We ask the source. We go straight to the Void Crown and extract the information. Admiral William looked shocked when they explained their plan. You want to attack their command ship directly. That's suicide. Not attack. Lisa corrected. Infiltrate. Thomas says the neon horizon can phase directly into their ship if we get close enough. And once you're inside, William asked, we find their dimensional coordinates and free the enslaved races. Lisa replied, if we can form an alliance, we might stand a chance. William was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. The Earth Defense Fleet will create a diversion. We'll give you your shot. The plan was set in motion as Earth's remaining ships, joined by civilian vessels armed with whatever weapons could be mounted, formed a defensive line between Earth and the approaching Dominion fleet. It was a desperate move, but it drew the attention of the enemy ships. They're focusing on Earth's defenders, Jack reported from the tactical station. The path to the Void Crown is clear. Thomas's hologram appeared beside Lisa. I've completed the calculations for the dimensional phase. But I must warn you, once we're inside, I'll need to divert most power to maintaining the phase state. Our weapons will be limited. Lisa nodded. We understand the risks. Everyone, prepare for phase insertion. The neon horizon accelerated toward the massive command ship, its engines leaving trails of blue energy that looked like bright lines against the darkness of space. As they approached, the ship began to shimmer, becoming less and less solid. Phase shift in 3, 2, 1. Thomas counted down. The world around them seemed to blur, and suddenly they were in a different place. A vast chamber filled with strange technology and pulsing red energy. The bridge crew looked around in amazement. We're inside the Void Crown, Laura whispered. Not exactly, Thomas replied. We're between dimensions, partially phased into their ship. They can't see us clearly, but they know something's wrong. We need to move quickly. Lisa stood from her command chair. Jack, Laura, you're with me. The rest of you, maintain positions. Thomas, guide us. The interior of the Void Crown was like a nightmare. Twisted corridors that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Chambers filled with strange machines that hurt the eyes to look at, and occasionally, glimpses of the Dominion themselves, tall, shifting forms that never seemed to settle on a single shape. Thomas led them through the maze, his hologram flickering as he maintained the ship's phase state. There, he said finally, pointing to a massive spherical room ahead. That's their dimensional nexus. The coordinates for all their pocket dimensions should be there. They entered the room carefully. At its center was a glowing red orb suspended in midair, with swirling patterns that reminded Lisa of star maps. That's it, Thomas said. The nexus contains the locations of every dimension they've created or accessed. How do we use it? Jack asked. Before Thomas could answer, a voice spoke, not in words, but directly into their minds. You do not belong here. A figure appeared before them, taller than a human and constantly shifting, like smoke that couldn't decide on a shape. One of the Dominion, Thomas whispered. A keeper. You BREACH, the Bomendarais. This is forbidden. Lisa stepped forward. You've kept other races imprisoned for millennia. You've been controlling the development of the galaxy, deciding which species lives and which dies. That ends today. The Keeper's form swirled faster. Your kind always resists us. You always fail. Not this time, Thomas said, his hologram stepping forward. I've seen the future. I know what happens. The Keeper seemed to study Thomas. Time bar EACHER. You have doomed your kind. No, Thomas replied. I've saved them. With that, Thomas's hologram suddenly rushed forward, merging with the red orb at the center of the room. The Keeper made a sound like reality tearing. The orb changed color, shifting from red to blue. Images appeared all around them, hundreds of worlds, each trapped in its own pocket of space-time. Thomas's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I found them all. Civilizations the Dominion imprisoned over millions of years. I'm releasing them now. The Keeper lunged forward. But Laura raised a weapon they had prepared, designed by Thomas to affect beings in multiple dimensions. The energy struck the Keeper, freezing it in place. "Hurry," she called to Thomas. Around them, the ship began to shake as the Void Crown reacted to what was happening. On the main screen, they could see portals opening throughout space, hundreds of them, each revealing strange ships and worlds that had been hidden away. "It's working," Jack shouted. Thomas's voice continued, now broadcasting not just to them, but to all the freed races. "The Dominion has kept you prisoner for too long. They've done the same to many species, including humans. Join us now. Help us break their power forever." On the bridge of the neon horizon, the crew watched in amazement as ships began to emerge from the portals, vessels of designs never seen before, from civilizations thought long extinct. They moved to surround the Dominion fleet, which had stopped its advance toward Earth. Thomas's hologram reappeared, looking tired but triumphant. "It's done. I've sent the coordinates to Admiral William. Earth's scientists can now open portals to contact our new allies." Lisa stared at the screen, watching as the ancient ships engaged the Dominion fleet. "Will they win?" Thomas smiled. "Together, yes. The Dominion's power was always based on keeping everyone separate and controlled. United, the galaxy's species are stronger than they could ever be." As they watched, the Void Crown began to collapse in on itself, unable to maintain its presence in normal space now that its dimensional controls had been compromised. "We should leave," Thomas warned. Now, the neon horizon phased out just as the massive command ship imploded, creating a burst of energy that rippled across space. 1 month later, Lisa stood in a grand hall on Earth, watching as representatives of 24 formerly imprisoned species signed a new treaty with humanity and the former council races. The Arcturians and the Vega Collective, freed from the subtle control of the Dominion, had joined the alliance as equal partners. Admiral William approached her, smiling. "Captain Reynolds, or should I say, Admiral Reynolds." Lisa shook her head. "Just Captain is fine. The neon horizon is still my ship. And its remarkable AI. How is Thomas?" "Adjusting," she replied. "He came from a future that no longer exists. That takes some getting used to." William nodded thoughtfully. "And what happens now?" Lisa looked out at the gathering of species, some humanoid, others utterly alien, all working together to build something new. "Now," she said with a smile, "we explore the universe without limits, just as we were always meant to." In orbit above Earth, the neon horizon waited, its sleek hull gleaming in the sunlight, blue energy pulsing along its surface like a heartbeat. Inside, Thomas watched the stars and smiled. The future, a bright neon horizon, stretched out before humanity, full of possibilities that even he couldn't predict.